Welcome to the Catalyst of Success podcast, where we want to unleash or unlock the elite potential in you. This is our second episode, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it because this is where we now build momentum, which is something we're going to talk about today. In our previous episode, we spoke about how to give yourself permission to become bad until you become good, how to give yourself permission to be a beginner again. Because a lot of times, when you achieve a certain level of success or a certain level of progress, a certain level of growth, you get to a point where you don't want to start again because you fear embarrassment, because you want to make sure that when you start perfect again because you had built that reputation of excellence. And I gave an example of starting this podcast, that it took me 2 years to start this podcast because I wanted to be perfect from the onset. I wanted it to be excellent from the onset. Yes, eventually it will get there, but you need to give yourself the opportunity. You need to give yourself the permission to be a beginner or to be bad until you become good again. That's how excellent things are achieved. And today we talk about momentum. What is momentum? Why do you need momentum? And how to build momentum in your life, in your organization, and in your profession. How to build that momentum. We want to talk about that and why is it important for us to build momentum? We're going to get deep into that. But first, let's talk about what is momentum. What is momentum? Have you ever found yourself stuck on the road and having to push your car? Right? You know for a fact that starting to push that car, it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of force to get that car to move. However, as soon as that car starts moving, your job is just to maintain that momentum. Your job is just to maintain and ensure that you keep that car moving until it starts. But it takes a whole lot of force and a whole lot of energy to get the start moving in the beginning. So that is momentum. That after that car starts moving, the momentum keeps it moving. Think of it this way: if you had to move a rock up the mountain or up a hill, right? It will take a lot of force to get that car or that rock to move up. However, as soon as that rock starts moving up, it doesn't take a lot of force to keep it moving because that momentum will carry it. So your job now is just to maintain that momentum to keep that rock moving. As soon as you stop, or as soon as you stop the momentum of that rock to maintain that rock rolls back and is going to take a whole lot of energy to move it up again. And I'm not sure if you will be willing to do that again. So that's why it is important for you to uh, begin that momentum and maintain that momentum, because to get it again, to get to that level again, to get that momentum again, it takes a whole lot of force and a whole lot of energy, right? And that is what momentum is. And according to science, momentum is mass times velocity. And velocity is the state of movement, the state of in science we call it it's a vector. It's got direction and it's got movement, and because of that, then we say it has got velocity. And velocity, we measure it sometimes in meters per second, sometimes in kilometers per hour, which means it's a state of movement. You're basically measuring the state of movement per time, right? And that's why there is velocity there. I don't want to get into a science lesson, but I just want you to understand that momentum has to do with movement, a movement of an object. Any object is a mass. It's got mass. The amount of particles that are in that object will be called the mass of that object. So, and you multiply that by velocity. We are getting into science now. I don't want you to get into science, but I want you to lock it in your mind that momentum has to do with movement. and movement towards a certain direction. That is going to be important in our lesson today, as because we now talk about movement towards a certain direction, right? And most of the time we think momentum has to do with energy, or we think it has to, maybe it has to do with energy a bit, but most of the time we think it has to do with excitement, we think it has to do with emotions, we think it has to do with motivation. Though you need that, but that's not what's going to maintain the momentum, because motivation comes and goes, right? And motivation is not constant. Sometimes you feel motivated, sometimes you don't feel that motivated. And I just want you to understand that motivation is what will help you to start. However, after you start, you need the momentum to carry you to keep moving. For instance, I'll give you an example. When I started this podcast, we I just told my son, his name is Nkutazo. When I just told my son, look, let's record podcast. Then we set up. It took us about 2 hours to set up just for that. But once we got moving in that direction to say we are setting up, we are going to record, we couldn't stop. We just did one thing from another, one thing from another, until we got the setup right. And as soon as we got the setup right, I sat here and I started talking. Now it was motivation that said, let's record. And then after taking that first step to move towards recording, momentum kept me going, because we just moved from one action to another, one action to another, one action to another, until we recorded the first episode. And after recording the first episode, I just went on and edited it. And I was just carried by momentum. At some stage, I felt, oh, this is a lot of work. But because I had started that movement and I kept that movement going, that momentum kept me moving forward until I, I broadcast, or until I took the first episode out. Now, getting into here, I know that I've taken that first episode out. So people are expecting the second episode. I wasn't feeling motivated anymore. But because I want to maintain this momentum, I had to make sure that I record this episode. Just to give you an idea, uh, it took me a while. I wanted to record this on Sunday already, but I kept postponing and postponing and postponing. Eventually, I remembered sometimes to get momentum, you need to remove a bit of friction. We'll talk about that shortly. And what I did, I just said at night before we went to sleep, I said, Tazo, let's set up for recording tomorrow. And as soon as we set up, this morning when I woke up, the setup was already done. So I knew that we had to record this. And this morning, did a couple of things, and I went on and came and sat here, because now we were ready to record. So those are some of the things that will help you to maintain, to build that momentum and maintain that momentum, right? Let's talk about the 4 pillars of building momentum. The 4 pillars of building momentum. One is clarity. Two is public declaration. Three is removing friction. We spoke about removing friction now. Four is taking small, consistent action. And the last one, celebrate your wins. And they all spell CPRCS. Sorry, CPRSC. CPRSC. That's clarity, public declaration or public commitment, removing friction, and small, consistent action. Lastly, celebrate your wins. Now, let's talk about clarity. Be clear about what you want to achieve. Remember, I said velocity is direction. It has got direction, so it's movement towards a certain direction. Now this is where you want to become clear about what you want to achieve. Be clear about what the ultimate goal is. Be clear about what the vision is. And when you become clear about that, then you are able to start moving forward. In 2021, so this is 20, in 2020, I decided that I was going to write a book. The name of the book was Elite Productivity. Now, uh, uh, to be honest with you, I've had this goal since 1997 to say, I want to write a book. I want to become an author. This is 1997. While I was still a teenager, I wanted to become an author. But what held me back? Why couldn't I write a book for all those many years? Because I was not clear. What book am I going to write? Who is the target market? What problem do I want to solve? Where am I going to sell this book? So there was a lack of clarity. However, during in my many years of living, I started getting experiences, and I was introduced to personal development. So it became clearer that, oh, actually I want to write a personal development book. I want to write a personal development book. But still, that was not clear on what's that personal development book about. Because personal development is big. There's leadership, there's professional development, there's uh, being, uh, there's exercises, or being, what do you call it as well? Exercises. Mm, yeah, that people that exercise, and people that develop their body. So that is also personal development. So those it personal development is big. So there's a lot that you can talk about in personal development. There's motivation, there's inspiration. There's a lot that you can talk about. And still, I was not clear. It wasn't until 2020 where I started reading more about. Oh, this is was up in actually in 2019, reading more about productivity and getting to understand productivity. And because I also wanted to be productive, at that time I realized that during COVID, a lot of people are going to lose work, and are going to lose their job. And the people that are going to succeed after that are the people that are going to be will be productive, and the people that will be able to achieve more with less resources. And that's why I got pulled into productivity. And the more I read about it, the more I realized that people need this. And that's why I said, okay, let me write a book about productivity. Now I was clear about what I want to achieve. I was clear about the book I want to write. I was clear about when do I want to release or publish that book, and when do I want to, who is this book for? Now, because of the clarity, that started the momentum. The next thing I did was public declaration. I went on Twitter and I said, on by the 16th of September 2020, I will be a published author. That post is still there. No, it's not pinned anymore. I had pinned it to my tweets. But if you are not lazy, you can just go through my tweets and go all the way to 2020, and then you can see that tweet. It's not a tweet anymore. It's an ex post where I did a public declaration to say I will be a published author. Now that public declaration kept what that public declaration did is it kept me accountable. More people held me accountable because I had promised that I was going to do it. So those are some of the things that you can do. That goal that you have been concealing in your heart for many years, that I want to do this, but I'm not going to tell anyone. I want to achieve this, but I'm not going to tell anyone until it's there. If you don't want to take it publicly for everyone to know, go to people you trust and say, look, I've been wanting to do this for a very long time in my life. However, I have been holding myself back. Could you please hold me accountable? For instance, when I started I wanted to start this podcast 2 years ago already. 2 years ago, I've been thinking about starting this podcast. Eventually, I met someone in my travel. I went to Oman for a training, a Toastmasters training at the beginning of the year in January. And I met a couple of leaders there. And one of the leaders I met there, thank you, Debbie. One of the leaders I met there said they have started a podcast, or they've been podcasting, I think, for about 3 or 4 years now. And I was like, this is what I've wanted to do for a very long time, but I've been holding myself back. And then she just pushed and said, just start, just start. And I said, okay, hold me accountable in the next 90 days. This is very important. In the next 90 days, I want to record about 10 episodes. So, according to Debbie's standards, that was very little. But for me, I'm a beginner. So, I wanted to give myself a threshold that I know I can achieve. So, I said, in the next 90 days, I will release about 10 episodes. So hold me accountable on that. Then in the next 90 days, I'll achieve 10 episodes. Next to us, we were sitting next to uh, Gustav. Gustav was like, "Okay, do it. I'll be with you. I'll also hold you accountable." So we formed an accountability group to say, "Okay, hold me accountable on this." And because I had formed that group, I had started that momentum, and they held me accountable to ensure that I do it. Now, Debbie went on Facebook on one of my Facebook posts and say, "Oh, this would be," after I posted a picture or a photo of me, she said, "This would be a great photo for your upcoming podcast." Now I know that I had made that promise, and now Debbie also made it more public. Now more people were looking forward to that first episode, and we released that first episode. So remember, number one is become clear. Number two is public declaration. Number three, you're looking at removing removing as much friction as possible. Remove those things that will hold you back. Remove resistance that will hold you back. For me, resistance was, I need a camera. I need good lights. I need good setting. And now I said, but I've got a lounge. I can record this right in my lounge, and I'm doing this right in my lounge. I've got I've got a secular light or TikTok light. What do they call these? Uh, what is? I've got a ring light that I'm using for my meetings. I was like, this is good light enough, and I've got a camera. I've got a cell phone which has got a pretty much good camera, and I'm also using my laptop camera right here. So I've got enough to get started. And I bought this microphone, I think a year and a half ago. It has been sitting there for a while, and it's a good start. It's a microphone, it's one microphone, but it's a good start. So I just remove all those friction to say, I just need enough equipment to start. So it doesn't have to be the state of the art, but it just has to be enough equipment to start. Another thing that we did, Tazo and I set up here yesterday, because I've realized that one of the things that hold me back is just the setting up. It takes me a while because I'm still getting used to it. Okay, yesterday it didn't take us an hour. It took us about 30 minutes, and we were ready. 20 to 30 minutes, and we were ready. Probably next time it will take us about 15 minutes. But because I had already set up, when I woke up and walked into my lounge, I knew that we had to record this. So I'd taken away some of that friction. So if you wanted to start exercising or start losing weight or start living healthy, so what I can advise you to do before you go to bed, just take your sneakers, put them where you'll see them. Take the tracksuit, put it where you'll see it. You're removing friction because you don't want to be thinking about it to say, "Oh, I must get my sneakers, I must get this, I must get that." As soon as you see your sneakers, you'll just put them on and go. Right. So those are some of the things that you can do to just remove as much friction as possible. Don't overthink things. Don't overthink things. Take a decision to say, I want to do it and just go and do it and remove all those resistance and all those restrictions. About 2, 3, 4 years ago, a certain friend, or it's a sister of a friend, actually, it's not a friend. I just know her growing up, but she's a sister of my friend. She was like, I took her as a coaching client. Let me not say client because I actually gave this pro bono. She said, can you coach me? I was like, okay, what do you want to achieve? She said, I'm going through my nursing degree, but I'm struggling with my studies. And after asking her a lot of questions, I realized that there's a lot of resistance in her life to start studying. So I said, one of the things that you can do is set up your room that it forces you to study. Clean up your desk, put your books there on the desk every night when you go to sleep, because she said, I want to study in the morning. Put your books there where you can see them every night when you sleep. Take your phone away so that when the alarm rings, you have to wake up and go to your alarm to set it, to switch it off. Now, when you wake up to switch off your alarm, you're already out of the bed. You might as well sit on the desk and start studying. So we started working on those tactics, which I believe worked for her, because now she's a qualified nurse and she's a practicing nurse. Right. So those are some of the things that you can do to remove as much resistance as possible so that you can start keep that momentum. They say Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have a lot of t-shirts. He actually has gray t-shirts, and wherever you see him, he's got a gray t-shirt because he doesn't want to think, what am I going to wear today? What am I going? Because it adds more resistance in what you are doing. So have as little resistance as possible to take decisions and to move forward. I think I've overstated this. Take small, consistent actions every day. For instance, well, for me, I to eventually record this, I was taking small, consistent actions every day. Say, what am I going to talk about? What is my next topic? And then I started scripting my next topic. I didn't have to have the full topic, but I started scripting it. It was an action. The action that I took yesterday to set up here, it was an action. So those small, consistent action every day will keep the momentum moving forward. When I wrote my book, we calculated with my coach that for me to achieve the result I want, I would have to write 4,000 words per day. 4,000 words per day I would have to type. And I was consistent on that. But on other days, I would feel very lazy, and I would say, so I set myself up a uh, a threshold to say, look, worst case scenario, just write 1,000 words. Worst case scenario, just type 1,000 words. But an amazing thing would happen. So because sometimes you'd feel lazy, say, I don't want to write today. I'm too lazy, or a lot is happening. That I've got a lot to do, so I want to skip a day. But because I had set myself that threshold to say, script, type at least 1,000 words, and I'll sit down and type, and I'll start typing. And because of the momentum, those 1,000 words would eventually end up to be 4,000 words. So those are some of the little things that you can do. Set yourself those little thresholds to say, okay, at a minimum, I'll do 20 push-ups. An amazing thing will happen as soon as you do those 20 push-ups, you would want to do more, right? So do take those small, consistent actions every day. Last one, very important one. Make sure that you celebrate every win, even the small wins that you have. Make sure that you celebrate. Celebrating doesn't mean now you must get a champagne and pop the champagne or anything. Just celebrate and throw your fist in the air, or give yourself an affirmation that you are a winner because you've done this. If you love ice cream, go get yourself an ice cream. If you love tea, get yourself tea to say, hey, let's celebrate. We've just done this. So those celebration makes sure that okay, you are looking forward to another one, and it kicks in a bit of adrenaline to say I'm looking forward to this celebration again. So take small consistent action, and after you take that action, celebrate that you have taken that action. Just imagine, that's why football players, every or I suppose this happens in every other sport, every goal they score, they make sure that they celebrate. No matter how many goals they've scored, no matter how many goals they've scored, or no matter how many times they score, they still celebrate each and every goal. Why? Because you want to ensure that you keep that excitement, and it pushes you to achieve or to score another goal. So remember these letters: CPRSC: clarity, public declaration, clarity, public declaration, remove friction, small consistent action, and celebrate your wins. That's how you achieve it. Now, as a leader, how do you ensure that your team has momentum and keeps momentum? It's all those things that I've just spoken about: clarity, public declaration, removing a friction, and small, consistent action every day, and celebrate your wins. As a leader, you want to ensure that you are clear about what you want to achieve. You are clear about your goal, and you communicate your goal. Because if your team doesn't know what your goal is, if your team is not clear about what you want to achieve, they wouldn't know which direction to take, and they wouldn't know what to do. When I took over or when I was voted as district director of District 74 Toastmasters this year, I am very clear about what we want to achieve as a team. I am very clear about what our goal is. Say, this is the goal we want to achieve. And this is what is going to take to achieve this goal. And I've made it clear, and I've made that a public declaration to say, this is our goal, and everybody knows what our goal is. Our team, the people we are serving, the people that are Toastmasters, we don't have bosses. Our coaches and mentors that are above us, that are holding us accountable, are clear, and they know what our goal is. We've made that public declaration. So I'm clear, and I've made that public declaration of what it is. Now, removing friction is ensuring that you take decisions as soon as possible. Don't delay on taking decisions. And this is something that I struggle with my team. But my team keeps reminding me that we don't need to delay taking decisions because we've got a goal to achieve. So when we get something that's on our table, uh, we we've got our values that we work with. We know what our goal is. If it's going to help us achieve our goal, let's take a decision: are we doing it, or are we not doing it? We are doing it, and then we move forward. Because sometimes as leaders, we take a while to take decisions. And because we take a while to take decisions, it creates stagnation in the team, where the team is not sure whether to move forward or backwards, whether to hold back or to go full steam. So you want to ensure that you take decisions as soon as possible as a team. Take small, consistent action. Ensure that you break your goal down in months, in weeks, in days, in hours, so that when people are there, they know exactly what they need to do every day. They know what action they need to take every day. So, daily, when they've taken a certain action, you want to celebrate that. Or when they've taken certain wins, you want to also celebrate that as a team. And that's how you achieve momentum as a leader, and you keep that momentum as a leader. And that's how you build momentum. And that's why momentum is very important. You want to ensure that you build up that momentum. And once you've built it up, you maintain it up to the end. And remember to use CPRSC. CPRSC. C for clarity, P for public declaration, R for removing resistance and friction, S, removing resistance and friction, S for small, consistent actions every day, and lastly, celebrate your wins. My name is Bhekisisa Ngomane, author of Elite Productivity, and this is the Catalyst of Success podcast where we unlock your elite human potential. Ladies and gentlemen, go out there and build momentum. Go out there and ensure you maintain that momentum, because the more if you build this momentum is what's going to take you where you want to. Now remember, nothing less than your very best is acceptable. And if you are not satisfied with your very best, you've got an option to improve your very best. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Please comment and tell me where you want to build your momentum, or how, or what is that thing that you want to do that you've been holding yourself back on, and now you want to build momentum on. Please click that like button, subscribe, and comment. Please share this podcast with one of your relatives, your friends, your colleagues that you know for a fact they need to build momentum in their life or whatever they are doing. Looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye-bye.